What if I told you that the same man who dodged bullets in The Matrix, rode horses across the American West in John Wick, and became the internet's most beloved human being, also happens to be one of the most serious motorcycle collectors and builders on the planet? Not a guy who buys bikes for photo opportunities and lets them collect dust in a corner. A man who actually rides, actually builds, and has poured millions of dollars into two wheels. Stick around, because what Keanu Reeves has done with motorcycles will absolutely blow your mind. Hi, my name is Johnny, and this is American Muscle, the channel where we go deep inside the garages, collections, and automotive obsessions of the world's most fascinating people. Who is Keanu Reeves? Now, before we dive into the collection itself, let's take a quick moment to appreciate just who we are talking about here. Keanu Charles Reeves was born on September the 2nd, 1964, in Beirut, Lebanon. He grew up across multiple countries before eventually settling in Canada and later Los Angeles. His acting career launched in the mid-1980s. But it was the 1999 release of The Matrix that catapulted him into a different stratosphere of fame entirely. With blockbuster franchises like The Matrix trilogy, the John Wick series, Point Break, and Speed under his belt, Reeves has earned an estimated net worth of somewhere between $380 million and $500 million, depending on whose numbers you believe. That is a lot of motorcycles, Johnny. That is a lot of motorcycles. But here is the thing that separates Keanu from your average celebrity who drops $100,000 on a Harley for a magazine shoot. Keanu Reeves is genuinely, deeply, obsessively passionate about motorcycles. He has been riding since his early 20s. He reads technical manuals for fun. The man co-founded his own motorcycle company. This is not a hobby. This is a calling. The Arch Motorcycle Company story. Let's talk about Arch Motorcycle Company before we get into the individual bikes, because honestly, if you skip this part, the rest of the list will not hit the same way. Back in 2011, Keanu Reeves was having a custom motorcycle built by a craftsman named Gard Hollinger, a renowned custom bike builder based in Los Angeles. The build was intended to be a one-off personal machine for Reeves himself, but somewhere during that process, the two men looked at each other and had a very specific kind of conversation. The kind of conversation that either ends in a handshake and a business plan or never gets mentioned again. They chose the handshake. In 2011, Keanu Reeves and Gard Hollinger officially co-founded Arch Motorcycle Company in Los Angeles, California. The mission was straightforward but ambitious: to build American motorcycles of the absolute highest quality, with obsessive attention to detail, fully customizable to each individual owner. No mass production, no cutting corners. Every single Arch motorcycle is essentially a bespoke creation, built around the specific measurements, preferences, and riding style of the person buying it. And Keanu is not the silent celebrity investor type who shows up for the press release photo and disappears. He is reportedly involved in the design process, the test rides, the engineering conversations. Former employees and industry insiders have described him as genuinely knowledgeable, not someone playing the role of enthusiast for publicity purposes. Arch motorcycles start at around $85,000. Some custom builds have climbed well past $150,000. These are not motorcycles for the casual weekend rider. These are rolling works of art with an engine. And the fact that the company was built on a friendship, a shared passion, and a refusal to compromise on quality, well, that is the kind of origin story that belongs in a film, which is somewhat appropriate given who we are talking about. Harley-Davidson FXR. Starting our list at number 10, we have a machine that tells you everything you need to know about where Keanu Reeves' tastes were formed: the Harley-Davidson FXR. Now, the FXR is not flashy in the way a modern superbike is flashy. It is not trying to impress anyone at a traffic light. The FXR was produced by Harley-Davidson from 1982 through 1994, and it quickly developed a devoted following among serious riders who valued handling and performance over showmanship. Among custom bike builders, the FXR frame is considered one of the finest Harley ever produced. Some people in the custom world treat a clean FXR the way a carpenter treats a perfect piece of walnut, as a raw material with enormous potential. Keanu has owned and ridden FXR-based machines for years. His relationship with this particular model speaks to the fact that he is not chasing status symbols. The FXR was never the most expensive Harley. It was just one of the best ones to actually ride. And to a man who logs serious miles on his bikes, that distinction matters enormously. Clean stock examples of the FXR today fetch anywhere between $10,000 and $25,000. A professionally customized FXR with quality components can push well beyond $40,000. Keanu's example, given its ownership provenance alone, would command a significant premium at auction. Keanu's first bike, Honda CB 250. Every serious collector has an origin story, and for Keanu Reeves, the beginning was about as humble as it gets. His first motorcycle was a Honda CB 250, a small, lightweight, entry-level machine that could not be further from the million-dollar customs that would come later in his life. Now look, I want you to appreciate the poetry of this for a second. The man who would eventually co-found one of the most exclusive motorcycle companies in America started on a Honda CB 250. That is like finding out that a Michelin-starred chef learned to cook on a camp stove. It is endearing, it is human, and honestly, it makes you like him even more. The CB 250 introduced Keanu to the mechanics of riding, to the feel of the road beneath two wheels, and to what would become a lifelong relationship with motorcycles. He has spoken in interviews about how riding became a form of escape and freedom for him, particularly during difficult periods of his personal life. And Keanu Reeves has had more than his share of those. A standard Honda CB 250 from that era would be worth only a few $1,000s on the open market. But in terms of sentimental value and what it set in motion, Priceless does not even begin to cover it. Ducati 996. Coming in at number 8 is one of the most visually striking Italian motorcycles ever produced, the Ducati 996. If you know anything about Ducati, you know that the 996 occupies a very special place in the brand's history. Introduced in 1998 as the successor to the legendary 916, the 996 was a masterpiece of Italian engineering and design. The L-twin desmodromic engine, the trellis frame, those impossibly elegant lines penned by Massimo Tamburini, a designer who approached motorcycles the same way Michelangelo approached marble. Keanu's connection to high-performance Italian bikes makes complete sense when you consider how deeply he thinks about the engineering and aesthetics of motorcycles. The 996 is not a practical bike by any reasonable measure. It is uncomfortable for long rides. It demands your full attention at all times. But when it is right, when the road opens up and the engine hits its power band, there is nothing else quite like it. A well-preserved Ducati 996 today sells for anywhere between $10,000 and $25,000 depending on condition and mileage. Racing homologation versions and special editions can fetch considerably more. As a piece of Italian mechanical sculpture, it is worth every cent. Norton Commando. Now, we move from Italian passion to British precision. Number 7 on our list is the Norton Commando. And if you are a motorcycle historian, you just sat up a little straighter. The Norton Commando was produced from 1968 through 1977 and is widely regarded as one of the greatest British motorcycles ever built. Full stop, no debate necessary. It won Motorcycle News Machine of the Year 5 consecutive times in the early 1970s, which in the British motorcycle press is essentially the equivalent of winning 5 consecutive championship titles. What made the Commando special was its isoelastic frame mounting system, which isolated the engine vibration from the rider in a way that no British twin had managed before it. The result was a bike that felt refined and manageable, while still delivering the raw character that British motorcycles were famous for. Keanu's ownership of a Norton Commando speaks to his appreciation for motorcycle history. This is not a bike you buy because it is fast by modern standards. You buy it because it connects you to a lineage, to the golden era of British motorcycling, to the cafes and race circuits and open roads of a different time entirely. A clean, well-maintained Norton Commando today commands anywhere between $12,000 and $30,000 at auction. Rare variants and competition models push significantly higher. BSA Gold Star. If the Norton Commando is a monument to British motorcycling, then number 6 on our list is practically a religious artifact. Ladies and gentlemen, the BSA Gold Star. Built between 1938 and 1963 by the Birmingham Small Arms Company, the Gold Star is one of the most celebrated and historically significant motorcycles ever produced anywhere in the world. The name itself came from a tradition at Brooklands racing circuit, where a rider who lapped the circuit at over 100 miles per hour received a Gold Star lapel pin. The BSA Gold Star earned that distinction early and emphatically. In the 1950s, the Gold Star in its 500cc Clubman configuration was virtually unbeatable in production racing. It dominated the Isle of Man TT in ways that made other manufacturers deeply uncomfortable. It was the bike that serious riders wanted, and serious riders got them. Keanu owning a BSA Gold Star is the kind of detail that makes motorcycle enthusiasts genuinely emotional, because it tells you that this man has done the reading. He knows the history. He is not just buying the most expensive thing available, he is tracing the lineage of the machines he loves back to their origin point. Depending on the year and specification, a Gold Star at auction today can fetch anywhere between $20,000 and $65,000. Rare racing examples in exceptional condition have pushed well beyond that. As a historical artifact alone, this machine is extraordinary. ARH Method 143. And now we begin our ascent into Arch territory. Welcome to the top 5. Number 5 is the Arch Method 143. And this is where things get seriously interesting. The Method 143 was introduced as Arch Motorcycle Company's more accessible model relative to their flagship machine. Though, I want to be very careful about throwing the word accessible around here, because we are still talking about a motorcycle that starts at around $85,000. Accessible is relative, very relative. Powered by a S and SV twin engine producing around 90 horsepower, the Method 143 is a long, low, impossibly beautiful American motorcycle. The name refers to the 1,430 cubic centimeter displacement of the engine. Every single Method 143 is built to order, which means no two are truly identical. Buyers work directly with ARC to customize the ergonomics, the finish, the components, turning the purchase process itself into an experience rather than a transaction. What is remarkable about the Method 143 from a design standpoint is how it manages to feel simultaneously futuristic and timeless. It does not look like it is trying to quote any particular era of motorcycle design. It looks like something that arrived from a slightly different timeline where American motorcycles took a completely different evolutionary path. Given Keanu's direct involvement in Arch and the customizations applied to his personal machines, his example of the Method 143 would be worth considerably more than the base price. We are comfortably looking at 6 figures. Arch. KRGT1 number 4 is the machine that put Arch Motorcycle Company firmly on the global map, the Arch KRGT1. And before you ask, yes, the KR in the name stands for Keanu Reeves. I know. That is genuinely cool. The KRGT1 was the first motorcycle Arch ever released, debuting at the 2014 EICME Motorcycle Show in Milan, Italy. And the reaction from the industry was immediate and emphatic. This was not a vanity project. This was a legitimate world-class motorcycle that could stand alongside anything being built anywhere on the planet. The KRGT1 is powered by a S&S 124 cubic inch V-twin engine producing somewhere in the region of 120 horsepower. It sits on a proprietary aluminum billet frame that is machined with a level of precision more commonly associated with aerospace engineering than motorcycle manufacturing. The ergonomics are adjustable, the geometry is optimized, and the styling, that long, low, aggressive silhouette, is unlike anything else on the road. Pricing for the KRGT1 starts at around $110,000. But with the extensive customization options ARCH offers, real-world builds regularly exceed $150,000. In the world of bespoke American motorcycles, nothing else quite competes with it at this level. And consider this for a moment. When Keanu Reeves rides a KRGT1 down Sunset Boulevard, he is literally riding a motorcycle that bears his initials, that was built in a company he co-founded, that carries the engineering philosophy he helped shape. That is a level of personal expression that no amount of money can simply purchase off a showroom floor. Confederate Hellcat. At number 3, we step outside the Arch universe for a moment and into the territory of another legendary American custom motorcycle builder, the Confederate Hellcat. Confederate Motor Company, founded in 1991 and later rebranded as Confederate Motorcycles and then Curtiss Motorcycles, built machines that operated at the extreme edge of what an American V-twin motorcycle could be. Raw, aggressive, minimalist in a way that felt almost confrontational. If Arch motorcycles are precision-crafted works of refined artistry, Confederate machines are fists wrapped in leather. The Hellcat was one of Confederate's most celebrated models, a machine powered by a massive S&S V-twin engine, wrapped in aluminum and carbon fiber components that strip the motorcycle down to its absolute essentials. No unnecessary bodywork, no decorative trim, just engine, frame, wheels, and the rider's nerve. Confederate produced their machines in extremely limited numbers, which means that ownership of a genuine Hellcat is genuinely rare. These are not motorcycles you find sitting in a dealership. You find them in serious private collections and occasionally at auction, where clean examples regularly command between $40,000 and $80,000. Keanu's ownership of a Confederate Hellcat fits perfectly within the broader narrative of his collection. He is drawn to machines that have a clear philosophy behind them, and the Confederate philosophy, uncompromising, raw, American, is one of the clearest in the business. Arch 1986. The Arch 1986, number 2 on our list. And this one has a story behind it that goes beyond engineering specifications and price tags. The Arch 1986 was a very special limited production motorcycle that Arch built as both a tribute to a particular era of American motorcycle culture and a demonstration of everything the company had learned since its founding. The name itself, 1986, nods to a specific moment in American motorcycle history, a period when custom bike culture was finding its modern identity. What separates the 1986 from other Arch models is the level of historical intentionality baked into the design. This is not simply a performance motorcycle wearing a retro costume. The geometry, the proportions, the material choices, all of it was considered through the lens of what made motorcycles from that era feel and look the way they did, then filtered through Arch's contemporary engineering capabilities. Given the extremely limited nature of the production run and the significance of the model within the Arch lineup, the 1986 commands a premium well above the standard KR-GT1 pricing. We are talking about a motorcycle that, in Keanu's personal ownership configuration, would conservatively be valued at somewhere between $150,000 and $200,000. But money aside, and I say this fully aware that $200,000 is not a small number, the 1986 represents something important. It represents what happens when genuine passion for motorcycle history meets world-class engineering capability, and that combination, frankly, does not come around very often. The $1 million custom Arch. And here we are. Number 1, the big one, the crown jewel of Keanu Reeves' motorcycle collection. Now, I want to be upfront with you because this is American muscle, and we do not do smoke and mirrors here. The motorcycle at the top of this list is not a production model with a published price tag. It is a one-of-one, fully custom Arch build, created specifically for Keanu Reeves to his exact personal specifications, representing the absolute pinnacle of everything Arch Motorcycle Company is capable of. Details about this machine are deliberately limited. Aaron does not publish specifications for private custom commissions, and Keanu, a notoriously private individual despite his enormous public profile, does not hold press conferences about his personal vehicles. What we know comes from industry insiders, auction house valuations, and the testimony of people who have seen this machine in person. What we do know is this: the build time for a commission of this complexity runs into thousands of hours. The components are either custom fabricated or sourced from the finest suppliers in the world. The finish work, the metal work, the paint, the surface treatments is executed at a level that blurs the line between motorcycle and fine art. Industry valuations for a fully custom one-of-one arch build of this caliber place it comfortably in the range of $1 million or beyond. Some analysts who have followed the Arch brand closely have suggested that, given Reeves's ownership provenance and the unique nature of the commission, a figure closer to $1.5 million would not be unreasonable at auction. And here is the thing that makes this whole collection so remarkable when you step back and look at it in its entirety. Keanu Reeves did not build this collection to impress anyone. He built it because motorcycles are the thing, the genuine, deeply personal thing that gives him joy and connection and freedom. From the Honda CB250, he learned to ride on to the one-of-one custom Arch at the top of this list. Every single machine in between tells the story of a man following his passion with absolute sincerity. In a world full of celebrities who collect cars and bikes as status symbols and talking points, Keanu Reeves is the real thing. And somehow, that does not surprise anyone. So, there you have it. The motorcycle collection of Keanu Reeves, worth millions of dollars, decades in the making, and every bit as extraordinary as the man himself. From a humble Honda CB 250 to a one-of-one custom Arch that could fetch over $1 million at auction. From British classics like the BSA Gold Star and Norton Commando to the cutting-edge American engineering of the KRGT-1. This is what a collection looks like when it is built on genuine passion rather than a desire to impress. If you enjoyed this video, please do us a favor and hit that like button. It genuinely helps the channel more than you might think. Subscribe to American Muscle if you have not already, because we have got a lot more of these coming. And drop a comment below. Tell us which bike from Keanu's collection you would want parked in your garage. My personal answer is the KRGT-1, but nobody asked me. I am Johnny, this is American Muscle. We will see you in the next one.